Once again, ladies and gentlemen, today's speakers: Chief Executive Officer of the Gateway Development Commission, Chris Calori; U.S. Senate Majority Leader, the Honorable Chuck Schumer; New Jersey Senator, the Honorable Cory Booker; New York Governor, the Honorable Kathy Hochul; New Jersey Governor, the Honorable Phil Murphy; Congressman Jerry Nadler of New York; Gateway Development Commission Vice Chair, Amtrak Board Chair Tony Kosha; Acting Administrator of the Federal Transit Administration, Veronica Vanderpool; and Deputy U.S. Transportation Secretary, Polly Trottenberg.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Co-Chair Glenn, Co-Chair Graywall Burke, Vice Chair Tony Kosha, and the entire board of the GDC, welcome to the signing ceremony for the Hudson Tunnel project. We are here because of the unmatched leadership of President Biden, Majority Leader Schumer, Governors Hochul, Murphy, Senator Booker, and the entire congressional delegation. Less than 2 years ago, not a single package of the Hudson Tunnel project was under construction. Today, we have construction on both sides of the river, and in a few hours, the very first piece of equipment will show up on the Hudson River to start the Hudson River ground stabilization. I want to, in particular, recognize Secretary Buttigieg, Deputy Secretary Trottenberg, Administrators Vanderpool, Bose, and the entire United States Department of Transportation for giving us unprecedented technical advice. It is because of that we're here at this moment. I also want to thank our partners, Chairman O'Toole and Rick Cotton from the Port Authority, Tony Kosha and Stephen Gardner from Amtrak, and Commissioner O'Connor and Kevin Corbett from New Jersey Transit. We look forward to working with you over the next several years to build this project. And to my dogged, true believing GDC staff, your efforts would be the legacy of this project. And Governors Hochul and Murphy, you know this, but forgive me for saying that you have two public servants in Catherine Garcia and Diane Scicchetti, who took my crazy calls at all hours to get us to solve problems and get us to this point. History, that's right. History will remember those who led the effort to get us to a point of no return and those who build this project. Our friends in labor, with whom we have already 2 project labor agreements, the thousands of men and women intuitively understand that we're about to build a portal of opportunity and not just portals of concrete and rebar. No one has pushed us harder and more focused like a laser than our first speaker, a champion of the Hudson Tunnel project, Majority Leader Chuck Schumer.
He did it. All right. It is great to be here today. Some people have been acknowledged. There are a few more I want to acknowledge, so I'll do everybody. Chris Calori, as I said, our great Gateway Development Commissioner. When I first met him, I was skeptical. He was from New Jersey. But Cory was right. He did a great, great job. Thank you. Not here today, but someone who's been a great partner in helping us get all this money, my partner, friend in the Senate, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. Let's have a round of applause for her. A great partner across the river, and we work so hard for the metropolitan area, which is sort of a seamless baton pass all the time, because Cory Booker is such a great representative, not only of New Jersey, but of the country. We have our 2 great governors. They're very happy today, as I'll mention in a minute, and they have been great, great partners. Not every governor previously was very much for Gateway, as you know, on either side of the river. But, these two great governors, Hochul and Murphy, have been, every time you've needed them, they've been there. They understood that New Jersey and New York getting along was crucial to the future of the metropolitan area. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Round of applause for both of them. Somebody who has known transportation, I think from the day he came out of the crib. I think he said Hudson River, a great leader, head of the ranking member of the Judiciary Committee now, but a transportation advocate all the way, and a great partner who's responsible for so much that's happened in New York transportation-wise, Jerry Nadler. We have our great Amtrak board chair. I think he's done a great job, and I've made sure he's stayed as board chair for a long time. Tony Kosha. Pete Buttigieg lives and breathes transportation. He couldn't be here today, but again, anytime you call the guy, he calls you back within a couple of hours and is always there, no BS, anything like that. And one of the reasons he's great, there are many, he has a great deputy secretary, a former Schumer staffer for 9 years, and then first a Moynihan staffer. Moynihan, as I always say, when he was leaving, he said, Schumer, I'm going to give you, and in Moynihan language, a gift. Polly Trottenberg. And she sure was a gift. Our acting administrator, the FTA Administrator Vanderpool from the Bronx. She told me Castle Hill. She went to the same great high school as Sonia Sotomayor, and that's great. We also have Amit Bose, the FRA administrator. Where's Amit? I didn't see him. Ah, there you are. We have two former Schumer staffers who now work on Gateway, and they did a great job working for me, and they're in the right place to make sure this happens, and that is Rob Hickman and Leanne Sinpadan-Sakul. I think I finally got that right after all those years. Alicia Glenn is here on the Gateway Development Board, always caring about our area. From the Port Authority, a bi-state agency, Rick Cotton and Mr. O'Toole. And one of the most important, not the only, but most important reasons we're doing this is for labor. We made sure that every bit of this tunnel is built by well-qualified, well-paid construction labor here. Union people, raise your hands in a round of applause for all of you. There are too many to mention. I'm a labor guy all the way. Okay. So it's great to be here. Now today we're here to announce, really, this time it's real, to cross the finish line on one of the most challenging and most important milestones for Gateway. What's called in Washington the FFGA, and it stands for the Federal Full Funding Grant Agreement. The Gateway race was truly a marathon, with its twists, its turns, its bumps. But we laced up, we kept up the pace, and we made it. So today, I'm proud to say the massive $6.8 billion infusion of federal funds, the light at the end of the Gateway Tunnel is signed, sealed, and delivered. And you know I always have something. It has a cherry on top. Why is it a cherry? This is for the governors. Because originally our deal was the federal government would pay 50%. We are paying 70%, which means New Jersey and New York taxpayers have to pay less. Every time I've been here at the past, I've held up a hard hat. So my great press guy, Angelo, said, I got something new, cherries. I said, oh, okay. Here they are, folks. It's a cherry on top. A lot of cherries. 70% is a lot of cherries. And I'll leave them here for any of the next speakers who would like to indulge. So, furthermore, construction now has begun on both sides of the Hudson. It's all systems go, no turning back. But let me take a step back for a second. When I took on Gateway, when it was do or die trying, I made an announcement that I would deliver the federal government at 50% of the cost. And I knew if we really worked hard, we could get it higher. So today we can shout it out. The federal share of Gateway is now more than 70%. This is unheard of, but I'm majority leader. This is New York. We go big. Today's $6.8 billion FFGA allows other funds that I announced previously with my colleagues, and it brings the federal total to $11 billion. So that's $11 billion plus 70% Fed share. These are hard dollars which will translate into hard hats, working on the job. And again, I want to thank my partners, the governors of New York and New Jersey, who have put in a significant amount of dollars as well to make this happen. Thank you, thank you, thank you. With today's lock on the FFGA, New York and New Jersey can now free up extra money to put into other transit funds. So, this is huge for mass transit and transportation across New York, and my strategy in the bipartisan infrastructure and jobs law was always to try and craft it so New York Fed dollars would be maximized. And let's face it, Gateway is the most consequential infrastructure proposal in all of America. As many of you know, for a long time now, this project has been my passion. It's been a labor of love. Ever since Governor Christie pulled out the funds, I knew we had to do something. There were lots of twists and turns. Donald Trump said, you build the wall, maybe I'll give you Gateway. I told him NFW. We're going to get this done on our own. And after many false starts and obstacles placed in our way, Gateway's full speed ahead, all systems go. We know why it's so important. The rail tunnels under the Hudson River are an essential artery that moves countless people and goods along the entire eastern seaboard. If the artery gets backed up, the heart of our national economy ceases to pump. America would go into recession overnight. Millions of people would lose their jobs. The GW Bridge, the Holland and Lincoln tunnels would be jammed with traffic bumper to bumper 24/7. Pollution would exponentially increase. So Gateway was a huge priority. And a lot of these points and why and how I led the bipartisan infrastructure and jobs law to passage is these reasons. But there were many others. Across the country, every week, senators, congressmen are cutting ribbons and putting shovels in the ground to rebuild our infrastructure. And President Biden gets a tremendous, tremendous amount of credit for pushing that priority and so many others. It's good for New York, good for America. The president knows this. Look, we're a country that can and should do big projects like Gateway. And the Hudson Tunnel project now moves into full construction. That's it. We spent a lot of time getting here, but because of its importance, Gateway's been a mission, and I want to assure all the people here working on it, any bumps in the road, logs on the tracks, you'll have Senator Schumer, as well as my colleagues, making sure that this goes forward to full completion. No ands, ifs, or buts. So, we're here. I brought the president here to see it a while back, you may remember. The Trump administration delayed the work for years, as I mentioned, but we never backed down, and now there's no turning back. I was told now the number of, we said 72,000 direct jobs, but Chris just said it's up to 95,000 jobs. 95,000 jobs. Every one of those people who's working on this gets a good paycheck. They spend it in the stores, in the restaurants, and all the others. So it's pumping money into the New York, New Jersey economy in a way we've hardly ever seen before. It's a great thing. It's all systems go. Thank you, everybody.
Please welcome New Jersey Senator, the Honorable Cory Booker.
Chuck, your speech was a stem winder, but your prop was the pits, man. Sorry. What do you call a guy like me that has no kids but tells dad jokes anyway? A faux pas. Okay. I'm here all week. I want to thank Chuck Schumer for his extraordinary leadership. To have a New York senator who's also the leader of the United States Senate, it's one of the reasons this project has gotten done. He was right to thank his wing woman, Kirsten Gillibrand. I, of course, want to give a lot of thanks to New Jersey's senior senator who, but for his leadership, we would not be here, and Bob Menendez. Of course, I'm standing before two of the greatest governors this region has ever seen in Hochul and Murphy. And I tell you, I know this from my personal interactions with Phil Murphy. This was a laser priority and focus for him. And again, these governors, without their support, we would not be here. But I want to make it clear, I was a senator for the last decade. I've been working on this project since the day I walked into office. I still remember having Obama's Secretary of Transportation in my office with our then governor working on this project. It was so frustrating to me when President Trump came in and blocked the process. We couldn't even get environmental reviews. If there's any reason we're here today, it's because when President Joe Biden was elected, he said this is the #1 infrastructure project in the United States of America. And I want to thank President Joe Biden for his focus, for his commitment, and for helping us in Congress, in the Senate, to deliver what we see today. Please give him one more round of applause. And I know this is a regional project. People think of it in that way. They think of it as a project between New York and New Jersey, but that's simply not true. This is a great American project. This region of New York and New Jersey is the most economically productive region in all of America and one of the most economically productive regions in all of the world. Investments here pay dividends. In fact, $1 in our regional infrastructure bring back $4 of economic growth. This Northeast corridor, that when it's choked, it clogs up the entire northeastern seaboard. We know that it's only about 2% of the landmass of America, but it is 20% of our economic strength. If there is going to be a strong, a successful, an economically powerful area of the United States of America, this is it. And so investments here for the American taxpayer pay dividends for us all. When it comes to American economy, American jobs, when it comes to American well-being, America's quality of life, this is the region that fuels an outsized proportion of our country's strength. And so today is a celebration of who we are. We as a nation, from our canal systems to the transcontinental railroad, we are a nation. From aviation and to sailing the seas and shipping, we are a nation that has always said that we are going to show the world a way. And so today is a day of making investments, the biggest investment of taxpayers in a transportation project ever. This is a day that we come back to being who we say we are, a nation that invests in itself so we can grow our nation, grow our economy, and continue to lead the world. And I'll tell you this, what makes me particularly excited is that this is just not an infrastructure investment. It's just not for the overall economy. The dollars being invested here will create tens of thousands of union jobs, affecting hundreds of thousands of people, families, and children who will not only see solid jobs and solid well-being, but good health care and a brighter future. When we invest in ourselves, the dividends that we pay cannot be measured. This region for decades to come will benefit from this investment. And so I close with a simple understanding said by a man far greater than any of us who will speak today, which was Martin Luther King. He said in a spiritual sense the truth about the power and interconnectedness of us all. He said in the letters from the Birmingham jail that we are all caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Well, that is true in the spiritual sense, but we must make it true in reality. We must make it true in our lives, our connections to one another, the community that we create at a time that there's so many shearing forces trying to drive our country apart. Well, this today, we celebrate that spiritual truth in practical, measurable ways. We deepen our connectivity. We strengthen our network. We say to the present and say in the present and point to the future that better days are ahead. A tighter, greater community is before us. And we in America are making these states even more united. Thank you.
Please welcome New York Governor, the Honorable Kathy Hochul.
I have a question for Majority Leader Schumer, if he's still in earshot. What if we got up to 75, 80%? Could we get a really big bag of cherries? I mean, I think that'd be fabulous, but no, I'm grateful to him. I want to say this. There are so many extraordinary public servants at every level who made this happen. And to recognize that it starts at the very top. If you don't have a president of the United States of America who's committed to this, it doesn't happen. So yes, we will give praise to President Biden. I think we give him a huge round of applause for not just loving Amtrak, loving trains, but being truly the embodiment of what an infrastructure president actually is and does. Let's give President Biden a round of applause. And this is about partnership. Don't take for granted that it's easy between two states, for example. We love New Jersey. New Jersey loves New York, but sometimes it's like brothers and sisters. Anybody come from a big family? You know what I'm talking about. So to pull it together, to say that, yes, there have been 4 presidents and 5 governors between our 2 states who just said it's too hard, we can't get it done, and moved on to the next crisis. Let's give credit to the people behind our governors, those who make the magic happen. And Phil Murphy, thank you. From our very first days in office, and I've been here just going on 3 years now, we said we have the power between us to work with Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, who has dreamed of this day and made it happen, and people like Jerry Nadler in our congressional delegation. But if the governors were not on board, my friends, we'd all be doing something different right now. So, Phil Murphy, thank you for the spirit of friendship that says we can sit around a table, we can collaborate, we can make the magic happen. So thank you, and thank you to Chris Calori, this bi-state guy that we both love. You've done an amazing job. Tony Kosher with Amtrak, we need your leadership as well. And also to those in the Biden administration. Yes, it's our president. Yes, it's our vice president. And Secretary Buttigieg, who came here many, many times. And yes, he must be on the phone with people from New York all day long because he's always talking to me as well, and the senator and everybody. We appreciate that level of engagement. But also, to have someone like Polly Trottenberg, right there as a leader. I want to thank you, Polly, because your voice on behalf of this region, yes, the whole country, but you have made a profound difference as well, and I want to thank you for that. Veronica Vanderpool, again, New York is really in the house, isn't it? I mean, I'm really grateful that all of you know what we're talking about. You know what we're talking about. You know how critical this is, and so you and your teams have made this happen. My team is extraordinary. My team, Catherine Garcia, who would be here, except she's across the great pond watching her daughter get married. We let her take a pass for that, but what she did, and her team, and Commissioner Dominguez, Marie-Therese Dominguez, our Commissioner of DOT, thank you. Thank you to everyone. And Kevin O'Toole and Rick Cotton, you guys do extraordinary work. You're the unsung heroes who keep things moving in this region, and I'll never take that for granted. So thank you. Senator Booker, have a nice trip. Had to get on the road. I guess the senators are a little bit busy today, but also to so many others. Locally, Mark Levine is here. We have representation, the deputy mayor from the city of New York as well. Let me just say this. Today is a historic day. There's no doubt about it. We have moved into places that others thought was impossible. We have seen this through. And what this says is that New York and New Jersey, this region, still has the boldness, the audacity of visions where others do not. This is on the scale of the Erie Canal. How many years, my friends? 200 years ago next year. You need to get up and celebrate this. It is still an engineering feat that is revered around the world. That's the scale of what we're doing here. Tunnels that were built in 1910 that were ravaged by Hurricane Sandy. And people said, well, stuff happens, right? No, you find the investment, you find the partners, and you make $16 billion of investment happen. And yes, I'll say it again, because you heard it before. 95,000 good-paying jobs for this region is phenomenal. To the men and women of labor, let's give them a huge round of applause, because they're the ones building back our region, one tunnel at a time. $20 billion of economic impact. What does that look like? Oh, our local businesses are so excited about families having more money in their pockets when times are tough, that they're going to spend on entertainment and restaurants and their kids' education. That's what economic development and money is all about. So I just want to say this. We have shown what we're capable here. We also have a president who invests in us. You heard it before, but this is the largest federal infrastructure investment, not just today, but in American history. And I'm going to put a little side note on that. New York is simultaneously benefiting from the largest private sector investment in American history with Micron, $100 billion of investment going on just up the road. Again, thank you to the Biden administration. Thank you to Majority Leader Schumer and his partners, Gillibrand and others who've gotten this over the finish line. So sit back, everybody. Enjoy the magic of this moment, because it may not happen again in your lifetime. This confluence, a president who gets it, who knows how to get things done and will continue to get things done. And also partners in the leadership that we have, with the leadership at the highest levels in the Senate, and two governors who know what friendship and camaraderie and the spirit of cooperation can do for a region. So, go forth, celebrate, honor this day, and know that you are all witnesses to history that generations will look back to with a sense of gratitude and says, yes, they continued that legacy of bold, audacious people from this region who would never take no for an answer. Thank you very much, everyone.
Please welcome New Jersey Governor, the Honorable Phil Murphy.
Good morning, everyone. Governor Hochul, as you leave, I want to reiterate your very warm words and the substance of a very, very outstanding relationship. And this project is a great example of that. So I want to thank Governor Hochul and her team on behalf of my team and the Jersey side of the Hudson for an extraordinary partnership on this and on so many other matters. As they say, protocol has been established, so I'm not going to go through and thank by name the now seemingly hundreds of individuals who deserve credit. I do want to single out President Joe Biden and his administration, and Polly and Veronica, thank you for representing the President and Vice President and Secretary so graciously. It really matters to have a guy who understands the rails at the top of the totem pole in this country. And I can say that with experience because, like Chuck and Corey and Jerry and others, I dealt with the last administration on this project, and I dealt with the Biden administration, and it's literally night and day. And I can't thank them enough. And by the way, our side of the Hudson historically has not covered itself in glory on this project, so I'm honored to be here represented a new day dawning, not just in general, but on the Jersey side of the House. I was on with some colleagues last night, and they said, what do you got for Monday morning? And I said, I'm heading into New York City for an event outdoors. And they said, what the heck are you doing that for in the middle of July in New York City? I said, it isn't every day that somebody hands you a check for $6.8 billion. So I'll go anywhere for that, Polly. I want you to know that. I'm incredibly honored to be here. And I'm going to sit down after I speak, by the way. I want to hear the rest of you to make sure I didn't miss anything. I'll just make it simple, other than thanking the president, thanking our brothers and sisters in labor and all the other very important individuals here today. It's very easy on a project like this to make it feel abstract. 95,000 jobs, 20% of the nation's GDP, $20 billion of economic activity, on and on and on. You hear words like resilient, redundant, reliable. Those are all big concepts and big numbers. I think we need to focus on what this will do to individual lives, to the operating engineer who's going to operate this piece of equipment behind me and his or her family, to the person trying to get into New York City from Jersey to get to work on time or to get to school on time, for that person who has been dying for the one-seat ride out of Westfield, New Jersey, which is finally going to become a reality. Remember, this is not just about building 2 new tunnels. It's about rehabbing the 2 that exist. By the way, they were built, I don't think Chuck was the majority leader then in 1910. I only could say that because he's gone. But this is a game changer. The mom and dad who want to get home and have dinner with their kids or help them out on their math homework. I think we need to think of this not just in the wow, big number reality, what it will do for this region, for both of our great states, but also the lives that will be transformed. And it won't be overnight. It'll take time. I was born in Boston and grew up outside of Boston, and that still gets me no votes in New Jersey. But I was also growing up during the so-called Big Dig, which went on forever. This feels like it's gone on forever, but it's finally actually happening. And it got so frustrating in Boston, they actually hired a public relations firm, and their theme was, if Rome had been built in a day, we would have hired their contractor. So that's the last thing I'd ask everybody. Please have some patience. This is not going to be overnight. But when it finally hits, it will transform literally millions of lives, and I'm honored to be a part of that. God bless you all. Thank you.
Please welcome the Congressman from New York and ranking member of the Judiciary Committee, Jerry Nadler.
Well, thank you very much. Today's announcement marks an extraordinary milestone for transit riders across the Northeast Corridor, if not for helicopter riders, and for the future economic development of our region. With full funding agreements signed and the railroad rehabilitation and improvement financing loans secured, I'm proud to say that the most important transportation infrastructure project in our country is now moving full speed ahead. As a longtime champion of the project, I'm grateful that the Biden administration is investing a record-breaking $14 billion and showing the world that our federal government can tackle massive transformative transportation projects like Gateway. I'm especially thankful to Secretary Buttigieg, Deputy Secretary Trottenberg, and others in the Biden administration for prioritizing this once-in-a-generation project. With today's announcement, we're one major step closer to expanding reliability, resiliency, and redundancy on the most heavily used passenger rail lines in the world. And we're a major step closer to creating 95,000 jobs, nearly $20 billion in economic activity, and securing our regional and national economy. And I'd like to echo what Governor Murphy said. What a significant change a change in administration makes. From the Trump administration, which tried to kill this project, to the Biden administration that is supporting this project, that is pushing this project, and that has shown a level of awareness and of energy behind transformative infrastructure throughout the country. I'm grateful for everyone here whose work and dedication to this vital project enabled us to reach this milestone. Together, we're creating a more prosperous future for our region and our nation, and I look forward to continuing to work with everyone to do so. Thank you.
Please welcome Gateway Development Commission Vice Chair and Amtrak Board Chair Tony Kosha.
Thank you. It really is amazing to be here, and to those of you who are frequently at these events, you're probably saying, wait a minute, him again? Because I've actually been with this project for a very, very long time, so I can't convey to you how much this means to me personally, having seen leadership really bring something that in many instances seemed like it would never happen to fruition. You know, and I know several of the speakers, and I know the governor commented on this, talked about the importance of this project. We live in, and I have the good fortune of having grown up and spent my entire adult life here. We live in an amazing part of the country. We live in an amazing region. But this project is really significant, not just to New York and New Jersey, but to the whole country. You've heard other speakers talk about the impact on the national economy that the Northeast Corridor has. These numbers are clear, and they have an unbelievable impact on the ability of our national economy to prosper. And so this project is not just about New Jersey commuters getting into New York or New York commuters getting out of New York City. It's about people from Philadelphia. It's about people from up and down the East Coast, from Boston. It's about the importance of mobility to a region having the kind of growth opportunity, and that this project makes that possible. Now, I know that you've now heard several speakers thank people, and the truth is I'm going to repeat some of that. But you know, I was growing up in a house where I definitely have to thank people who did something for me. And in many ways, I feel that way about some of the people I'm about to mention. And let's start with the President. The President of the United States has played a direct role in this project happening. We are here today because of his direct involvement, his desire to say this will happen, his understanding of what it means to this region, to the country, and that is not something to be overlooked in any way. And clearly, we have Deputy Secretary Polly Trottenberg here, and the acting administrator of the FTA, all basically demonstrating the level of commitment this administration has made across so many different levels. Let me now move to Senator Schumer, who's gone and won't hear this, so I'm not sure whether I should use this as my opportunity to say things I wouldn't have the courage to say in front of him or not. But the reality is that, you know, there were times in this project where, to those of us who were advancing it, we felt pretty lonely. But there was always one other person in the room, and that was Chuck Schumer. And that is a great ally to have when you are in a foxhole and the odds are against you. Because I have to tell you, there is no question that his advocacy for this project is the reason why we are here, is the reason why these funding levels for a project that does in fact have national significance has that kind of national funding. When people travel over the world, they always come back and tell me as the Amtrak chair, gee, you know, these great train systems exist in all these other places. Why can't we have that here? One of the reasons why we need to get to that point is the level of federal commitment to a national passenger rail system. Chuck Schumer's a guy who understood that, not just on this project, but nationally, and has been an advocate for passenger rail and Amtrak, and very specifically for this project and the impact it has. You heard from Senator Booker, who also has been there the entire way. This kind of advocacy in the United States Senate, in the Congress, has meant the world to us. And that's true of the congressional delegation, a number of whom are here. I know Congressman Menendez is right here in the front row. His current work on the T&I committee is very much continuing that tradition of support for this region that we've enjoyed. And let me say something about the two governors, because I've now, between my service on the Port Authority and my service at Amtrak, I've spent a number of hours with governors on both sides of the aisle. We have two very thoughtful, hardworking, intelligent governors who understand it's not about them, but about the work that we do. Governor Murphy and Governor Hochul, from day one, have been strong advocates of this project, have deployed their resources across the board in order to make it happen. And Chris Kalori mentioned two people that I have to mention as well, which is Diane Scicchetti, who's here, Catherine Garcia, who the governor mentioned, is in Europe celebrating a great family moment. They have been hands-on, engaged in this project all the way through. At the most difficult moments, they've spent the most amount of time. I'm grateful to both of them. Polly and Veronica, again, you know, it is unbelievably valuable to us to pick up the phone, call people, and have someone on the other side not trying to put up an obstacle, not telling us about the forms we didn't fill out or the things we didn't do, but creatively thinking about how we can resolve those things. And so we are all very grateful to all that you've done. I also want to thank my former colleagues at the Port Authority. Chairman O'Toole and Rick Cotton are here today. They have really stepped up in a major way to make this project happen. But let me also say, as someone who spent, 8 years at the Port Authority today is marching on all cylinders. The two of them have done an unbelievable job in bringing together the two states and getting major projects done. This region is very, very fortunate to have the Port Authority, and the Port Authority is very fortunate to have Chairman O'Toole and Rick Cotton leading it, and for that we should all be grateful. And then finally, let me also thank my colleagues at Amtrak. Stephen Gardner, our CEO, is here with me today. Stephen's leadership has taken Amtrak to a whole new level, operating systems throughout the country in a way where we are investing record numbers, not just here in New York, but around the country on major projects. And Stephen has always made the time and always been directly engaged on this project, as has Laura Mason, our Director of Capital Programs, who's here also today, and the number of other people at the company, including Roger Harris, our CEO, and our President, and others, all of whom have played a big role. But let me say a few things about the scale of Gateway, because we are building a modern 4-track system that is on a scale that will accomplish something that's never been accomplished anywhere in the world. We are basically building, nowhere else in the world has an infrastructure owner or operator sought to double service and infrastructure capacity while simultaneously running an intense mix of intercity and commuter rail services on a railroad that's over a century old. It would be fantastic if we could somehow shut down the entire system and build this, but that's not what we're doing. We're doubling train capacity in the most intensely operated train infrastructure in the world, something that has really never been done anywhere in the world. Today, we operate 450 trains a day in New Jersey Transit and Amtrak. When the full Gateway program is built, we will be operating 900 trains a day, almost 500,000 passenger trips a day. This is unbelievable levels that has not happened. And with that will come expanded peak service at times when people need it. The one-seat ride for virtually all routes that are served into the region will be available. Not to mention added capacity to do things like service directly to Amtrak, service directly to Long Island, service to Scranton, Pennsylvania, added frequencies between New York and Virginia and North Carolina, and of course expanding the Empire service here in New York. To those of us who've been around this for a while, we realize that, people experience the system and they experience what happens in the system. And, I know we've all had that experience of sort of saying, gee, I wish somebody would do something about this. Whether it's delayed trains or not enough service or something that happens that makes our life just a little bit more difficult. Well, there's a difference, I have to say, between complaining about doing something and actually doing something about it. There's also a difference between accepting legacy problems that evolved over decades and doing something about those legacy problems. There's a difference between blaming people for a problem and not accepting responsibility and doing something about that. Well, today is really about doing something. Yeah, we're not going to build this thing overnight. It's going to take some time. But I'll tell you two things about that. One is that we're not going to make this project move faster by not starting it and just talking about it some more. And the second thing I'll tell you is that with every shovel of dirt, with every ton of steel, with every yard of concrete, we move closer to proving that we can do something about making the condition better. Those activities, a project of this magnitude, the scale we're talking about that will transform the region, doesn't just build this tunnel. It creates the incentive to operate our trains better, for all of us to make sure that the outages, some of which we've experienced in recent weeks, don't happen. To be creative about finding ways to get the assets that we currently operate to make it until new assets can replace them, and to bring that kind of creativity and hard work into serving the people who need it very much. It's all about doing something. It's not about complaining. It's not about pointing fingers at people. It's about stepping up and making things happen. Today is a day where we're celebrating that happening, and all of us, I think, are going to benefit from it. Thank you very much.
Please welcome Acting Administrator for the Federal Transit Administration, Veronica Vanderpool.
Boy, what a day. It is so nice to look out into this audience and see so many champions, advocates, supporters, and transit leaders who have brought us to this moment. It is not every day you get all of us together sitting in a parking lot with helicopters above us, but it is a rare moment where we are celebrating the largest grant in the history of the Department of Transportation. I want to start by thanking Governors Murphy and Hochul for their support that led to the creation of the Gateway Development Corporation. Let's rewind. There were so many steps and so many actions that needed to be taken in order to be at this juncture today. I want to thank Chris Calori for his support. You took this and turned it into a juggernaut, Chris. Thanks to all the members of Congress, and especially Majority Leader Schumer, whose steadfast championship of this project and of transit in this region will be defining legacies of his career. And I want to thank Chairman Kosha for his support and working so closely with the Department of Transportation. I want to acknowledge FTA's regional team, led by Michael Collada, and their significant role in this historic moment. There are dozens of FTA colleagues who have spent innumerable professional and personal hours working on this project. And I can't name them all, but what I do want you to know is that this project has touched all of the Department of Transportation with the committed support of our Secretary, Pete Buttigieg, and of course the committed support and steadfast championship of our Deputy Secretary, Polly Trottenberg. I want to thank Federal Rail Administrator Amit Bowles and Deputy Administrator Jennifer Mitchell and many others within FRA for your partnership. And I also want to thank Morteza Farajian for the recent efforts of the Build America Bureau in closing the loans supporting this project, which at a combined $4.1 billion will be the largest Bureau financing commitment to one project. So you've heard by now that I'm from the Bronx. If you know this area, you can hear it. And as a native of the Bronx, it fills me with such pride to come back to my city and sign the guarantee for the largest grant agreement in the history of the Department of Transportation. Not the largest grant in the history of the Federal Transit Administration, which is indeed true, but within the entire Department of Transportation. $6.88 billion to help build a new rail tunnel under the Hudson River. And while the grant and the tunnel are important, what I want to highlight is the real-life impacts of this infrastructure. And Governor Murphy, thank you so much for noting that as well. You kicked that sentiment off, and I want to continue with that. So before joining the Biden-Harris administration, I spent 10 years as a nonprofit leader of an advocacy organization, calling for the federal investment and political support in transportation that we celebrate today. And I want to shout out the advocates, because advocates are an important part of getting these projects advanced and done, and holding our elected and political and appointed leaders like ourselves accountable. And every day since, I have worked to improve America's communities through public transportation. But it's more important when you come back, and it's more impactful when you come back with billions of dollars to add to that mission. So our investment isn't just about building a tunnel, it's building a better tomorrow. That is what we're celebrating here today. Not a check, not tunnel boring machines, not rails that would touch the shores of Jersey in the heart of Manhattan, but we're celebrating people. We are celebrating 95,000 people whose lives will be changed by good union-paying jobs that strengthen economic livelihoods in New York and New Jersey, because transportation investments generate a 4-to-1 return. 210,000 people each day whose lives will be richer as they spend time with family and friends instead of waiting for delayed trains. Railroad workers who will be safer as they travel back and forth through new modern tunnels. 500,000 people in New Jersey travel through these tunnels into New York, where they work jobs in Midtown and throughout the city. Tens of thousands of manufacturers, builders, restaurant owners, and others will see positive spin-offs from the $20 billion in economic activity from this project. And taking a bird's eye view, 22% of the US total economic output comes from the 450-mile-long corridor this tunnel will connect. So today, we are celebrating every person warmed by the economic fire that is the Northeast Corridor. And today, we really do celebrate connecting people to everything that matters. So as a New Yorker who saw access to the region's core come and go, I know we can all take a look back at the past. But don't be misled by false narratives about this project not going to Penn Station. This is a transformational, generational project. The Biden-Harris administration is making an incredible investment in the region we call home here today. Thanks to the leaders here and to President Biden's unwavering focus on investing in America and investing in people through the bipartisan infrastructure law, getting to that future will be more prosperous, safer, more reliable, and I look forward to taking that trip with all of you. And who knows, maybe we'll travel in trains that go through the Chuck Schumer Tunnel? I don't know. Thanks to all.
Please welcome Deputy Secretary of the United States Department of Transportation, Polly Trottenberg.
It is a hot day, I'll admit it, but it is a wonderful day. It is so wonderful to be here home in my happy place in New York City on behalf of the Biden-Harris administration, Secretary Buttigieg, and all of us at the U.S. Department of Transportation as we celebrate a moment for the Gateway project that I think many of us have been anticipating for years. I know we've done a lot of thank yous here today. We'll try and keep mine quick, but of course I do want to thank a few people again. Of course, starting with Senate Majority Leader, my old boss, Chuck Schumer, who, as everyone said, was the driving force for so many years in this project. Senator Booker, Congressman Nadler, Congressman Menendez, and the delegations from both New York and New Jersey. The two extraordinary governors, and I think a lot of us, as Chairman Kosha was saying, a lot of us in our roles throughout the years have worked with a lot of governors across the Hudson River, and Governors Hochul and Murphy have one of the most extraordinary partnerships. They have stepped up every step of the way on this project. It has been great for their states, it's been great for the region, and it's been great for the country. Thank you, governors. Let me also share in the praise of Chris Calori and the amazing team at the Gateway Development Commission. In 2 short years, what they have accomplished is nothing short of miraculous. The team spirit, the drive to get things done, the problem solving, it's second to none. I love being by the heliport. Well, let this helicopter land. I'm glad I'm not wearing my FAA hat today. You all would be yelling at me. Thank you, Chris, and thank you to the Gateway Development Commission Board. I know we have some board members here, including co-chair Alicia Glenn, my former deputy mayor in the de Blasio administration. We have a current deputy mayor, Mary Yoshi, here. Thank you, Amtrak Chair Tony Kosha and CEO Stephen Gardner. Thank you, New Jersey Transit President Kevin Corbett. Of course, Port Authority Executive Rick Cotton and Chairman Kevin O'Toole. And again, thank you to the labor leaders and all the other folks in this room who have supported this project for so many years. You've heard the praise of my colleagues, Veronica Vanterpool, our acting FTA administrator. We started working together on the MTA board so many years ago. Little did I know we would be here today together. Our FRA administrator, Amit Bose, and Deputy Administrator Jennifer Mitchell, the head of our Build America Bureau, Morteza Farigian. There's so many others. I have other DOT colleagues, past and present, in the audience. Thank you all. This has truly been an incredible team effort. And I want to make sure I thank the workers who are going to be building this incredible project with union labor. This is going to be one of the most complex and important public works in American history, as you've heard. So thank you to the workers who are going to get the job done and the contractors and small businesses that are going to support them. I won't repeat, you all have heard about the significance of this project for the New York, New Jersey region, for the Northeast Corridor, and the national economy. And look, for many of us who work and live in this region, this project is personal. I know probably everyone sitting around here has been through that tunnel hundreds, if not thousands of times, and maybe gotten stuck in it a few times as well. And like a lot of you, I too, back in the Obama administration, had the heartbreaking experience of watching a previous New Jersey governor cancel the original project. It was such a frustrating moment. And by the way, I do want to give a special shout out to Stephen Gardner, who was someone who really kept this project alive and re-envisioned it, even when the path did not look so certain. I also want to thank a previous US DOT Secretary, Ray LaHood, who made a very wise decision to take $400 million of Sandy funds and put them, it seemed like there was a lot of internal discussion about it, but to ensure that there would be a viable tunnel alignment under the Hudson Yards right over yonder. He did it even not knowing where the funds for the tunnel were going to come from, but knowing that this was something we needed to do for future generations. And if you heard, we all watched a previous administration drag their heels on this project, all the while racking up costs and delaying this important work. But now, and I think you've heard it from every speaker today, and I will add it as soon as this next helicopter lands, now I have to say the stars have truly aligned. With all the extraordinary and committed leaders you see in this audience today, an administration and a president, you've heard a lot of praise about him. He really is Amtrak Joe. I'm proud to say we are all in from the top to the bottom. We're all in on the funding and all the support that's needed to build this project of such national significance. As you all know, in January 2023, the president was here himself to celebrate a mega grant for the tunnel work at Hudson Yards. In early November, Secretary Buttigieg was here on this side of the Hudson to break ground on that project. I had the honor later that month to be on the other side of the Hudson with Governor Murphy, kicking off the Tonnelle Avenue Bridge. But today we are here for the biggest milestone of all. It brings a little bit of a tear to my eye. We signed the full funding grant agreement that will mean the Biden-Harris administration is delivering over $11 billion for the Hudson Tunnel and announcing another $4.1 billion in loans. And that means that this project, after nearly 20 years of talk and plan and hopes and dreams, is becoming a reality. We are going to build this tunnel, as I swear, by this enormous earth-moving machine behind me. And I will again just close saying this is because of President Biden. He really has taken this project to his heart with his bipartisan infrastructure law and his determination that our country can still do big things. Of course, it also happened, I will be remiss in not saying also Senator Chuck Schumer, who's never let up on his relentless advocacy for this project. So today is a great day to savor and celebrate. On behalf of the United States Department of Transportation, Secretary Buttigieg, and the Biden-Harris administration, I want to again thank all the leaders here today who are going to deliver this project. We at USDOT will be your partners every step of the way. We look forward to celebrating many more milestones, and ultimately I can picture a beautiful Hudson River tunnel delivering us all into the Moynihan Train Hall. And I hope everyone here today will take pride in knowing that you will have a hand in making that vision become reality for generations to come. I know I will. Thank you so much.
Guests, please remain seated. Members of the media may now move into position for photographs as our program wraps up.